long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Let's have some fun and do a little digging with the first Star Wars fake leaker who actually had relationships with other fake leakers that are torturing the fan base now, like Jason Ward. This guy called himself Super Shadow, and he was basically part of the walk up to the prequel trilogy from 98 all the way to right before George sold Lucasfilm to Disney in 2012. And this guy had a fake profile picture. I don't believe that the picture on the website that was found by Eckharts Ladder is anybody but Ray Park, who played Darth Maul. And Super Shadow's girlfriend was some nameless model that was famous back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But this guy would steal other people's information and wrap up true stuff with his own made-up crap. This is a classic case of clickbait, of trolling to get, attention. I don't think he made money on this. Maybe someone who actually had experiences with him would let us all know what that was all about. But he was, if you were looking for the most important, biggest pieces of information you could find on the lead up to anything from the Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith, it would be you stumbled on Super Shadow's site. It would be that you'd think you ran into a gold mine. He took leaks from theforce.net and other leakers that often had correct things on there. The site had a fan fiction dedicated area to Leia's bikini. But the thing about it is he didn't want you to know who he was, and he didn't want to put his name behind anything he said. This is a modus operandi, a mode of operation that not one or two people in the YouTube community can be also guilty of, okay? And we know who they are. I'm not going to say it. They modulate their voices. They have code names they go by. Super Shadow did the same thing, except the modulated voice. I don't believe he had a YouTube channel. And it's very interesting to me how he was able to garner so much attention when obviously he was wrapping real leak stuff either from the Hollywood trade publications to other sites. He did have a thankless working relationship, it looks like, with Jason Ward, who was allowed to post his stuff on the website without any basically gratuity, if you know what I mean, without any thanks from Super Shadow. And people actually thought he was friends with George Lucas, and it's like, George Lucas's BFF is Steven Spielberg. Where would he find the time to hang out, typing all this nonsense on the internet. Whoever this guy was, and no one ever found out, he was very, very careful about, again, not letting people know who he was, what his name was. Okay. And, back then, I don't think the fear of doxing was something that people had back then as much. Now, comics, Ethan Van Sciver just is embroiled in the aftermath of the suicide of one of his, basically his persecutors, who basically this is what the left does. I just want to mention this as a side note. This guy supposedly hit on a 17-year-old girl, which is basically age of consent in the state of Pennsylvania. And, it was an allegation. There was no official investigation, but the people that had been his allies jumped into white knight this girl, and then another girl named Molly Wright jumped in. And the guy ended up having the news show up at his house. They doxed him, and he killed himself yesterday. And it's just, this is what they do, okay? And I do think the right thing is probably not to tell people too much about who you are in the aftermath of all this. But if you're a comic book artist, if you're a big YouTuber who doesn't have anything to hide, you're going to step on people's toes. Ethan Van Sciver came out as a Republican, and he was persecuted out of the mainstream comics industry because that's the way the left does things. Okay, Super Shadow, on the other hand, was a grifter, a purveyor of bullshit, and it looks almost to me like, because he updated his website all the time. And by the way, supershadow.com is up for sale on GoDaddy.com. So if you want to buy it, it's there. It is. I just found that out. So you can't look at the site itself. I tried. Super Shadow just took actual real facts, wrapped his own bullshit on it, and put it out there in the world, and people ate it up like ice cream. Because there's the official statements that the studios ran with and gave to the official Hollywood rags, and then there's the desperate attempt by fans to find more.
In keeping with the trusty adage, starve a cold, disgust a fever. Dad, when are you going to stop blighting the environment with this atrocity? My God, can't you see that it wants to die? Let it go.
Hey, guys.
Oh, Gonzo, hey, you want to do a puppet act with me?
Cue the disaster. What's a puppet?
Oh, well, see...
It's a doll.
Yeah,
It's made to look
it's a doll.
alive by wiggling strings,
Yeah,
or
strings.
or putting your hand inside of it.
hands, like that.
What a stupid idea. Who wants to watch dolls wiggle?
Well,
I mean, even I wouldn't do an act like that. Doll wiggling, talk about boring.
I didn't have the heart to tell him.
But this is where the clickbait lies that we've been fed and the made-up bullshit that people who think they're actual journalists have shoved down our throats started. Okay. And Super Shadow, unlike a lot of people, declared that he was not a journalist. He never said he was a journalist. Okay. Which is at least something of integrity compared to others that we know. Okay. The closest he could be considered to is probably Mike Zero, who, was quoted by the Express from a British newspaper several times, with wrong rumors, of course. But the difference between Mike Zero and the nom de plume YouTube channels with the fake names and the masks and the modulated voices and the fake journalist credentials is Mike Zero loves Star Wars. And I think Super Shadow loved Star Wars. You never saw him go out of the way to badmouth what was going on, I don't think. Okay. It's because the website's up for sale, you can't read it. You can't look at it. So you're kind of left with people's memories of what it was like. But I think it's true. I mean, the bad part of it was that he lied about a lot of stuff, including his friendship with George Lucas, which was, I mean, anybody who believed that back then, you just want to take him and slap him, okay? Because George would not talk to anybody about stuff that was going on with any of his projects and want to see it on the internet. He just would not do that. He's very protective of the project and wants to unveil it brand new and shiny to everybody on opening day. Okay, that's what he wants to do. And he would not have told Super Shadow anything. Like, one of the biggest things that Super Shadow talked about in leading up to Revenge of the Sith or the prequel trilogy is the Dark Side prequel trilogy, which people thought was new. There's still people to this day that want to see the Plagueis Palpatine side of the lead up to the prequels and the prequels, which would be kind of a dark side horror movie, or part of an anthology leading up to the Skywalker era, but until Kathleen Kennedy leaves, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I mean, there you go. See, what this started, I think, is the fandom's inability to look at what we know that's been agreed to be let out by Lucasfilm, public knowledge, and made up shit. People can't tell the difference. It's the inability to read subtext and needing something to fill that subtext in because they can't read it themselves. Like, Super Shadow would take full everything and run with it, the absence of Kathleen Kennedy from the public eye. He would ignore the House sale. He would ignore the fact that no one's talking about the Rey movie anymore. And that, when Bob Iger said, a few movies have been canceled quietly, it's not hard to go, the Rey movie is one of them. The fact that Daisy's got projects she's working on now. Stephen Knight is working on the Peaky Blinders movie. I don't know what Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy is doing. She's probably, maybe she's joined ISIS. I don't know. As their spokesman, I don't know. The Code Pink ladies, I don't know. But the subtext of the Kathleen Kennedy issue is, where the fuck is she? And instead of actually asking that out loud, how come it was Jon Favreau lamenting Carl Weathers' death, basically speaking for Lucasfilm and not Kathleen, is not asked by the voice-modulated, mask-wearing, nom de plume having fake journalists, okay? And, those are two different entities there. I'm not going to get into it. They don't ask that question, okay? Because it's not good. It's not money, okay? It's not going to make you click on it. Unlike Mike Zero, who doesn't go out there and insist he's a journalist, there are things you have to do as an ethical journalist that a certain channel does not do. And yet, they call themselves journalists. Okay. Super Shadow never called himself a journalist, but he is the forerunner to all this shit. Okay. So I'm going to leave a link to Eckharts Ladder's video about Super Shadow. He did this 7 years ago. But it'll give you an idea of the historical lead up to the big YouTube channels that are scrounging for every dollar they can get with hate clicks and bullshit. Okay, so this is Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.